Hello everybody and welcome to Imagination TV, to our university specials, as we're working through a conversation around Imagination University and what it's going to look like. And we had an article published today in the Australian newspaper which outlined our vision for Imagination University, which is an opportunity for people to come together from 5-year-olds to 105-year-olds, from any race, from any background, from any nation, from anyone committed to wanting to seek higher order thinking, and then to use that higher order thinking to then go out and organize change and try and build a fairer world. And the pointy tip of our university, the work we're working towards, is to eradicate educational inequity, because we believe that every child and the whole child of the next generation of people coming forward, it's our responsibility to pass on as much knowledge as humanly possible, and for us to leave this world in the best possible place that we can, hopefully in a stronger, more sustainable place and a better place than when we entered it. So that's part of the core of the work with our mentoring methodology weaving through. We have imagination, which is critical to what we believe the human mind. We think that imagination is first principles of thinking, that every idea starts with imagination. We believe that we can flip the script, that there are established stories that are told, especially when it comes to disadvantage, that we tell the story, almost mythologize that certain groups are disadvantaged and will forever be so. And we also mythologize the role of people who have privilege and power, and often say that, well, you will sit in your ivory tower and we will have this huge divide together. And we believe that we can flip the script and build bridges for people to come together. And if we expect the best and look at people not where they've come from, but where they are and where they can go to, we can genuinely design the way the world can work, and we can look at re-engineering a way that the world can work so it's a lot fairer and we have a lot more of a share for everybody. And then finally, when we look at what a successful life looks like, that we don't just have it all based around a dollar note of saying, all right, well, I got $50, so therefore I must be numerically happy. That is not enough. We have not cracked an economic modeling that engages happiness. It engages an exchange of kindness. It engages time. It engages internal satisfaction and worth. We are complex beings. We have complex minds, and we can crack a more complex economic model, which doesn't just have cash at the center, but has it maybe a bit further down the line and thinks about how we can build exchange and connection and love and care, not as some sort of corny set of ideals, but because they're critical to the human spirit feeling enriched and having a satisfied life. That's why we're here. We're going to show a quick video and then catch up with a bunch of people in the next hour and a half.
We know what happened in 2020. But let's imagine 2021.
Let's imagine what a free and just world looks like.
Let's imagine a university free for all, with no paywalls to higher order thinking for anyone, anywhere. Let's imagine a social network for good. A bridge for us to come together and redesign the way the world works. Let's imagine what happens when we tell the kids at the back of the class that we see you.
There is a generation of kids just like you.
Let's imagine school students, university students, teachers, executives, citizens coming together to learn. Curriculum designed for the future we hope to build. Now imagine. It's happening right here. And you're invited. Welcome to Imagination University, brought to you by AIM, the Imagination Factory. Applications are open now.
Sophia, thank you for joining us, and great to chat to you over in Boston. I'm interested as to what piqued your interest when you got a random note from one of our team via LinkedIn, I think, when you sort of saw the idea of what we were trying to work towards? What is it that grabbed you and made you want to, potentially get engaged?
Yeah, it's awesome to be here, Jack. Thanks so much for having me. And it's true, I got a random LinkedIn message from someone at an organization in Australia, and I'm in the US. And I heard about this new concept of a university that's free, that's open to everyone, that has every age, that has students and teachers. And I love that enough. Because so many university experiences are the opposite of that. But even more so, the idea that it was all around social change and being a change maker, and how to really make a difference in the world was so exciting to me. And that's what I love. And so I took that as an opportunity to learn more.
Tell us a little bit about what you've been doing and what your life's taken you to this point with.
Oh, well, I guess I could frame it a little bit around my own educational experiences. I was born in Boston, here on the East Coast in the US. And I grew up both in Boston and in central Mexico. And I had this back and forth between these two countries that have a huge border in between them that creates a lot of division, political division, social division. Between the US and Mexico. And I just had this back and forth all the time. And as a result, I learned to see myself as a bridge builder. There were mentors in my life, similar to some of the mentors with students at AIM. And they helped me to see myself as part of the solution, really. And how you all put it, I love how you all put it, not part of the problem, but part of the solution. And as a result, I wanted to learn more and more and be a bridge builder and bring communities together and create change around these borders that were artificial, but somehow controlling our lives. And as a result, I went on to study international relations and entrepreneurship. And I wanted to find a way to connect human rights and innovation to do something now and today. And ever since, I've been working in the US and Mexico to make that change and build those partnerships that help us, change the world, because that's something that we need everyone to be able to do.
Yeah, very cool. And I think, that idea around being seen as a problem, or people looking at you or at students as like with a victimhood mentality, there's this often just a complete blind spot, lack of awareness for those people who are coming through a lifestyle with a bit of privilege or with some power, where they've just assume that dominant narrative is the normal narrative, and that there's certain people on top and there's certain people here, and oh my gosh, how unlucky for the poor disadvantaged people. And I've watched my mum work her butt off as a visual artist for 40 years. Our family's black through my mum's side. They're Indigenous to Australia. My grandfather went and fought in World War II as an Australian soldier and came back and wasn't a citizen for another 7 years. And it was when we had our version of apartheid, and he had to go to the back of the pub to sit with the dogs to drink a beer while everybody else he went to war with could sit in the front bar. Now, that generational change can happen when you can find power in your own worth and your own story. And too often, young people are forced to do that themselves, to try and find their way out through struggle and through hardship without someone saying to them, hey, here's a pencil. Someone else has written this story for you. Hopefully not to keep you down, but maybe sometimes to keep you down, because it's more comfortable for them to retain their power and their privilege. And flipping that script and bringing people with power and privilege to the table to open that awareness and building those bridges, I think is the way that we can kind of get through this, so we don't end up divided black and white, or between cultures, between races, between nations. Philip, it's great to have you join us today, also in the States. Where are you right now?
I'm currently in Lafayette, Louisiana at the moment.
Nice, man. Well, it's good to see you. And I've been lucky to get to know you a little bit over the last couple of years. And I've always been fascinated by your passion to want to see things change and to organize change. What is it inside of you that's making you want to be positive, that's making you want to see progress, and that's fueling that determination to have hope? What are the things that are sort of moving around in your engine room?
I would say for me, it's just the motivation and the drive to just give up to others and helping people know that they can achieve anything that they want to. Because a lot of people, they fear the word failure. And I tell people all the time that failure is the next step for you guys' success. As long as you guys have that engraved in your mind, then people can achieve anything that they want. And that's just my passion because I used to play baseball, but I got cut from my team. And that failure made me want to drive more, to do more, to accomplish more. So I just feel like whenever people hear that word failure, they just get scared. And I want to be that person to help them succeed. That no matter what happens in your life, whenever the door is broken, you guys can do anything that you want to do. And that's just how it is. That's how I believe life should be.
It says, Sophia, like the idea of failure is so gnarly when it's not life and death, like when it's about picking up the phone and calling someone and someone saying no. I just sent a note to a group of our guys on WhatsApp, and we just had this story shared in our like national newspaper. It's probably like our one of the more respected national newspapers, and it was an opinion piece we've sort of written about Imagination University. And I just said to them, all right, here's a challenge. Go get rejected by 100 media publications around the world. And Brendo, who reached out to you, like, let's go for it. What do you lose? And because the 5 out of 100, suddenly there's a connection to you, Sophia, in Boston, which is then potentially a way that we can work together through America and Mexico, and a connection with you, Philip, which came from us literally driving to your campus and driving into your town and sort of knocking on the door. If we're brave enough to go outside of that space where we're afraid our ego will get hurt from getting rejected, because it's not physical pain. It's literally like just, oh, they don't like me. Come on, that's not enough to stop progress. If that's it, then what are we doing? How do you overcome that, Sophia, and working on being an entrepreneur and being rejected? How do you overcome that sense of, oh, this hurts, to actually try and push yourself forward and see the bigger picture?
Yeah. Well, I think part of it is acknowledging that in some ways failure doesn't get easier, right? It still hurts every time. But if you think back, I mean, I think back to times that I had, awful failures that I thought were just the end, even when I was a teenager and when I was younger. And to be able to say now, well, it didn't really change anything in the end as much as I thought it might. It could have, but if you don't let it stop you, it doesn't. So part of it, I think learning from our own failures is the best thing we can do. And that means that we have to be willing to have our own failures in order to be able to learn from them, because that gives us the chance to do everything again and again until we get it right.
I love that idea that that failure doesn't stop hurting. Like I've been lucky enough to, get near the top of some trees. Like I sat down and had lunch with the King and Queen of Spain one day, which was bonkers. And have traveled with, prime ministers and met celebrities in the States, and, sat with Mandela's family, and like really like the top of the pop sort of people, athletes, etc. And they're so vulnerable, like so scared, because they, what takes them to the top a lot of the time is they go all in again and again. And when you go all in, you face serious rejection every single time. And I think that's one of the dangers when we like deify celebrity, or we deify these people that we put the posters on the wall to be like, well, they're not human. They go all in and they succeed. And there's that line about Jordan missing more 3-point, buzzer beaters than he got in. You just have to know that pain, and it's so challenging, because that pain is growth, and it's such a tough thing to train in your brain. And when you get up tomorrow, you'll have more muscle and you'll be better for it. But in that moment, everything in your body is saying, no, stop it, Sophia. No, stop it, Philip. And yeah, it's really challenging. What do you think, Philip? I'm gonna stop talking for a bit.
Yeah, that's really how it is, because I totally agree with everyone, and I just feel like people just need to have that strong positive mindset, just be confident in what they're trying to achieve. And whenever they do that, then the world for them just opens up many and many possibilities. So that's how I am in life. I just be confident, and like you said, like no matter what happens that comes my way, I just have to be positive, because like you said, there can be a lot of no's along your way, but as long as you just keep, it can be that one person, that one yes, that one opportunity, and that can just change your entire life, your entire lifestyle. So I totally agree with what you were saying.
Yeah, especially when we have some sort of, maybe we have some sort of predictive path that we're on, where we're born, the way we grow up, there's some sort of pathway that we might be moving through. If we don't jump out of that, we don't shift the chemistry of the way the world is sort of moving and how we're interacting. And when we just sort of go sideways or go out of, here's a path, I'm going to walk into the woods, something different happens. Sophia, can you remember the first time that you walked off the path, that you went, actually, I'm going to break a rule here. I'm being told to follow this way and I'm going to go somewhere else. And can you describe what that feeling was inside of you that was saying, go that way?
That's a great question. I have to think back, and I think that one of the things that has helped me get where I am today and will help me get wherever I'm going is being always willing to go on that path, and just experience it like an adventure, because that's how you can get to the next. That's how you can get someplace that you would never have even imagined yourself to be able to go. Um, That's a great, I'm trying to think if there's like a first time that stands out to me though. And
The
I
adventure's
think,
a cool bridge idea. Like I started watching Winnie the Pooh again. And Pooh says, I was watching the sort of Christopher Robin remake they did of it when Christopher Robin's older. And Pooh
I
said,
saw it.
sometimes the very best of something comes out of doing nothing. And so much of what Pooh is doing is just kind of turning around and accidentally walking the other way and pretending to be dumb, but he's so smart. And that's the tension as well. When we do what's predictable, people give us rewards. When we do what's unpredictable, we're seen as crazy or dumb. And that's tough to balance as well, that sort of sense of worth and how you feel like you're not crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you have to have a community of people if you can get it. Maybe they're your friends, maybe it's your family, your colleagues, people online, whatever, to help you kind of understand the path that you're on and encourage you to keep going. Because sometimes when it's not the status quo, you may wonder yourself if you should just do something a lot easier or safer or conventional. But if you want to go off and do something to change the world, you really have to take risks.
Yeah.
And so keeping people around you who recognize that value and reiterating it to yourself, that's really important.
I was writing this thing. I'm working on a couple of different books as texts for their university, just so we can share all the stuff we've learned from organizing for the last 16 years. And one of the things I was working on today is this lesson we've been saying to the kids almost since the beginning, which is shoot for the moon. And even if you miss, you land amongst the stars. And I just sort of wrote a descriptor underneath it that, man, if someone tells me my dreams are ambitious again, I'm going to want to punch myself in the face, because if your dream is not ambitious, then I think it's definitively not a dream. It's like a digestive biscuit or something. It's like, oh, this is easy for us to work through. Cool. That's not a dream. It's just like the status quo. Hey, Philip, why do you want to enroll in Imagination University? Are you looking at it as a university student or as a citizen? Have you thought about what this opportunity might be for you and what you want to do next year with it?
So for me, probably a citizen. I just graduated from college, so I can't be a student anymore. But I would say for me, probably a citizen. I want to teach the students how, like I mentioned earlier about failure, and what Sophia was saying was really good points, because for me, it's all about happiness. And whenever I went to college, I played baseball, and I thought that was my passion, but it turned out that it wasn't. So then I was going to practice every day. I did not like it. Then I got cut from the team. And then this whole relief just lifted up off of my shoulders. Then I realized that, hey, I want to lead people. I want to lead students, parents. I just want to lead people in general. So whenever I wasn't playing baseball, it just led me to happiness and just be able to teach people about mentorship, leadership, and just following your dreams and passions. And that's exactly what I want to do, is be that person, help them feel like they can do their dreams and accomplish all this stuff. And I just want to be that go-to person, that role model, and just help them know that, hey, you can do this. Hey, we got your back, and just do not take no for an answer, because you're one step closer to achieving your wildest dreams. That's what I want to do in Imagination.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I think the yeah, it could be really cool as a follow on from the work that we've done so far. If you're, coaching 3 or 4 student chapter leaders who are working at different campuses around the States, would just be so awesome to work with 400 kids and be able to give that wisdom of what you've been through already. And I think the more that we throw our hand back and pass on the knowledge when we've been down the path, the stronger we'll all be. Hey, Sophia and Philip, thanks so much for dropping in and being a part of this. Really interested to see what we can do together next year. There's such a cool, eclectic group of people gathering. So I think bare minimum, we'll have an incredibly positive social network to gather with, which will all give us boosts of energy. And, the maximum potential of this, I don't think I can really imagine what could come out of us putting all of these different connections together of people that really want to get things done. So stoked to talk to you, and even more excited to work with you in the next year.
Same here. Thank you for having me.
See you, gang.
Nice to meet you both.
All right, we'll catch you soon.
Yeah.
For those of you tuning in who are trying to get to know AIM and understand our history, we haven't just popped up out of my garage and said that we can open a university. We have learned a few things. So here's a short film that we've made, which talks about the history of AIM and what we've done over the last 16 years. It takes us up to last year when we did a festival of mentoring in Australia and helped train some people from around the world and how to take some of the tools away. And it was sort of the beginning of us leading to this point where we could launch our own university. So it only takes you up to 2019, but it will give you a sense as to some of the work that we've done and that maybe we are a little bit legit. So enjoy the film. We'll see you on the other side. Opportunities are there, and we're just there to help you.
$50 and you have to wear your budgie smugglers.
National Hoodie Day is a chance to look good and do good. That next year we're going to run a global campaign to give away 20 golden tickets to 20 university students from 20 different countries to win a one-off scholarship for 3 years to see if they can take our model and rip a generation of powerless people out of inequality. Not only are we going to nail this back home, but we're going to turn our eyes to every kid that's been left behind and see if we can build a better, fairer world for us all. That starts tonight. Get ready for the next 10 years. You ain't seen nothing yet.
You. Sitting in the back row with the fire inside, we see you. You who has fought for everything, we see you. You who knows what it is to rebel, we see you. There is a generation of kids, just like you, waiting for you to see them. So if not you, then who? If not now, then when?
Hannah, welcome to Imagination TV to talk about the university special. I'd love to hear a little bit about your story and what's sort of interesting you in Imagination Uni and what you're keen to get involved in.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, team, for having me on today. My story, I guess, in the context of why I want to join the university. I've been with AIM for a few years now, but before that, I kind of set myself a challenge to challenge myself on some of the things that I thought that I knew, and to really challenge myself in pushing the boundaries of the things that I thought that I would do and the thought that I would be a part of, and to try and not be afraid of different experiences and things like that. And that was kind of almost 10 years ago now, I guess, and I did a lot of traveling, and I met a whole bunch of different people, and I worked in a bunch of different areas, and I tried to say yes to things that gave me that kind of scary feeling in my stomach, and we went, oh, gross, no. So as soon as I got that feeling, I tried to say, yep, all right, let's do it, let's give it a go. And that opened up a whole bunch of really cool friendships and experiences and a whole bunch of learning along the way. And I think
it's so hard to push into that feeling, that like, oh, yuck, no way, that instinctive feeling that we have. Jade, how are you going with the goop of trying to, you're also working at AIM as well. And we've got, I think what's cool about the university is, there's a few of us that are very lucky to be employed to work at AIM, but there was also a world before working at AIM. And there's a reason why I think we've all arrived here, which is to try and be the best version of ourselves and to try and create change. And one of the values that we see as a key ingredient to imagination is this concept, yes, and, how do you resist all of your urges that take over with fear, all of the things that invoke your lizard brain to be like, no, this isn't going to work. And here's logic and here's all the reasons why. And how do you just for a moment give an idea breath? How do you give it life? How do you let it live? How have you found that as you've sort of ducked your head in under the hood of the AIM universe, and what are you looking forward to in the university?
Yeah, I think that's something working at AIM has been so important, and it's definitely made me step out of my comfort zone. Like, for instance, at the moment, I'm feeling a little bit nervous, and it's something that I probably wouldn't have done 2 years ago. And I think it's cool to be nervous because I'm asking questions. I'm talking to you about high caliber information and things that are going to shift and shape society. And I think diving into those discussions and definitely allowing room for them is the only place that individually that we can grow, and then collectively that we grow. And so I think AIM has definitely taught me to be pushing that boundary. And, for instance, how we're doing Let's Get Awkward. I think that's an incredible thing because it makes you stop and stay still and realize why you feel uncomfortable, focus on why you're feeling that way, and then why it's the most important to be feeling like that. And I think that's probably the biggest learning that I've had from AIM at the moment, which is absolutely incredible. And that's only going to get stronger and stronger. And we're only going to push that further into more people with the university concept. And I think it's an incredible thing that, we're working towards. And I guess my project, so I haven't completely thought it all the way through. It's still a little bit up and down, but something you kind of mentioned at the start, I wrote it down. You're saying, we're not numerically happy, or that shouldn't be our measure of happiness, and that internal satisfaction and worth doesn't have a lot of value in our society at the moment. And so I kind of, maybe it's a generational thing, maybe it's the period and place in my life that I'm at. I've got a lot of personal connections and friends, and I even just had a friend, just as we were doing this, text and say, oh, Tinder sucks. And so I think we're living in a world of emotional poverty. And I think, people are operating in the micro rather than from a macro point of view. And we're very much not grounded by anything, and that we're often oscillating between and consumed by Instagram posts or texts from someone of the other sex or something like that. And it's it's a normalized emotion, and I don't want that to be a normalized place for people to be sitting. So my project's kind of, again, I don't know which path it's going to take. I want people to turn and focus on introspection and self-awareness and broader self-awareness a lot more than what is the norm at the moment. And I think AIM's, obviously projected that, and our values are know thyself. And that's something that I want to I want to put out into the world. And, if anyone who's talked to me for more than a second knows I'm obsessed with ancient Greece and the way that they do things. And, they were living in a world that it was a philosophical realm where they had that emotional stability. And although obviously there was a whole bunch of stuff going on, it had such a focus on like the Delphi maxim is know thyself and nothing in excess. And I think we've just moved so far away from that. And that's why we get lost in this world of confusion and comparison. And I think as a project, I'd love to push that again. I don't know how, but that's like the moment that I'm using this project for, to be able to do that. And especially to people in my generation, to show that that is a path that maybe, it doesn't have to be normal to feel like absolute crap because of something that you've seen online. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of the place and the direction it's taking. Definitely advice if we can, flesh it out a little bit more, but that's where we're at.
Yeah, I think that emotional poverty concept is such a weighty one. It's such a big thing to acknowledge, and then to know that, and a lot of the designs of a lot of the communication tools that come our way, they are designed to break up our sense of emotional worth into little bits. So we then desperately want to eat the next hamburger of a ping satisfaction that can come digitally to us. And I think one of the things which I'm fascinated about is how this social network for good that we're cultivating really starts to take off with the university. My partner, Yael, who was on the show last week, is really interested in this project about how we can be friends, how we can talk to different people, and sort of exploring what that can look like, broadly around the lens of climate change, but really just how do we actually have those conversations? And so I can see a world where Yael shares what she's doing into Slack, and then you go, hey, I'd love to maybe work on that, or can we do a speed dating session here with XYZ, and we get to do a lot of building together. That's the other part of the current, of a number of frames of current social networks. Now there's the genius of the internet is open source coding. Like when that happens, it's so cool. Like Google Docs as an idea that you can jump on and you can write a document together and build it up together. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Like when we build, it is so good. When we tear and destroy, it is so bad. And it is so amplified with the way a lot of our social networks have been designed, is they're not based on building. They're not based on building ideas. They're not based on building our own individual sense of worth, and not based on building connections of depth that can sustain and opening up sort of pathways and bridges to different environments so we can hear different ideas. They confirm and confirm and confirm, so we get smaller and smaller and smaller in our thinking. Hannah, as you look at the world ahead and think about, how to change it, day in, day out, you're sort of in the mixer of a group of people that are really trying to work towards this stuff. I know you're really passionate about wanting to see things change. How do you have a happy life when you're doing that? How do you stay happy?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, because I think it's really like hope and happiness and all those sorts of things, they're really important to our lives as human beings generally, but especially if you're working in a space full of challenges, like you need those things to move you forward. But you also need the reality of the context too. Otherwise, happiness is important to a point, but unless you kind of can recognize that there's dips and ebbs and flows in life, then like what does happiness become? So, I mean, for me, on a personal level, I think it's really important to engage with those things that make you happy. And I try and look after myself and do yoga and running and see friends. And music is a huge connector of happiness for me, above, I think, all other things. Like I'm not a musician by any stretch of the imagination, but I really do believe in the power of music to reset how you're feeling and to connect people who
I challenge that. I think you are a musician, and I think one of the frames that we mess up is this idea that if you don't get paid $50 for a song, that you're not a musician. If you don't get paid for a painting, that you're not an artist. Now, I love this line from Ray Charles that a mentor that I worked with, he interviewed Ray Charles a while ago, and Ray said, none of us own the notes. We're just lucky enough to hold them for a little bit before we pass them on. Now, everybody has music in us. We all sing as kids. We love being sung to. We can hear it. We're all musicians. We're all artists. We're trained to to get smaller in our expression. So I'd say you're absolutely a musician, and there's some other people that do it differently. That's it. Like, we all just have, if we can be free to have music to sing, everyone can sing. You can just sing, full stop. It just sounds different.
It's very true. And it's something that, you know, that would be a line that I would share with other people, but it's something that for yourself, you often really have to push and say, no, this is something that I would say to others. Why don't I say it to myself? So
well, go on now, Hannah. You can say
on
air, I am a musician. Over to you.
I'm a musician.
There we go. I'm an artist. All right, Hannah, Jade, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you. We're going to go to Cogs now, which is a film that we've made, but really excited to see, you know, how you guys engage with the university and the projects that you work on. And just as we keep building this really fascinating group of people coming together, I think we're in a very privileged position to have something that we can have hope towards and can work towards every day, and that there's momentum building around this as well. We're in a very lucky spot for those of us that are working here. So let's never take that for granted. Thanks, Hannah. Thanks, Jade.
Thanks.
All right, over to Cogs, and we'll be back in a second.
ticking clock to cure pain. Every second means a mile. Every minute means a day. I hope you're walking in the sun. Hope you're going to be someone. Maybe one day, maybe today.
Henry, thanks for joining us on IMAGI-NATION TV. I'd love to hear a little bit about your story and what the heck's interested you in IMAGI-NATION University and what we're getting up to in the next 12 months.
Yeah, okay. Well, I received the email from you guys and I looked at it and see what it was all about. And I really liked the fact that it was giving everyone an education and a chance to achieve what they want, like through their interests or by getting marks.
And how old are you, Henry? Where are you at school? Tell us a bit about yourself.
I'm at Knox and I'm 14 in year 8 this year.
Awesome. And so have you had a look at any of the specific courses for the school students? Is there one that you're sort of interested in, you think?
I was thinking like arts, music.
Yeah,
awesome.
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
So moving through the artists section broadly and then working on like a body of work for the year. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
And did you say playing the didgeridoo? Is that the...
Yeah, I have a didge at home.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I got taught from this guy, Mark, when I was maybe 10 or something. And I got taught have you been taught how to circular breathe, or you know how to circular breathe?
I can a little bit. It's pretty hard on the ditch, but I can do it on other
Let's
stuff.
try to do it here. So I'll try not to spill water all over my desk, but if you go to a sink, so if you put water in your mouth, so you put air in your cheeks, and then you have the water in your mouth, and then you just squeeze with your cheeks the water into the sink. And then circular breathing, the trick to it is you're actually putting pockets of air into your mouth, and then you're closing them. So you're not actually breathing at the same time as it going in and out. So then you can start to do stuff like, let me see if I can still do this. And you get to breathe in through your cheeks and out. It's an amazing instrument. And it's, do you know it's called the Yadaki originally, that's where it's from? Have you heard that before?
Yeah.
So Northern Territory instrument originally, and and we're lucky enough to have the chance to play it on the East Coast in some different places. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be really cool. We'll have to, if we can be in a similar location, see if we can have a dig session at some point. That'd be kind of fun. Hey, Helen, tell us what's interesting you about Imagination University.
Oh, I think the most, I suppose, the biggest piece that interested me was, I mean, I've been part of the AIM world for quite some time, but I really liked the personal impact that, you know, no matter what background you've had and who you've got access to, and, you know, it's opening up the doors of university for absolutely anyone. And personally, my project, I'm still defining it like many others, but I have committed to activate my community a lot more than I have over the years, which I'm really excited about. I think, you know, we all have the capability to activate and influence, and, you know, I've been, I suppose, using the AIM world as actually a bit of a comfort zone, but, you know, it's allowing me to step out and activate a bit more individually than I have in the past.
And that's our opportunity to, I think, see things change. If we're, you know, Helen, Henry, if you get to have like a beautiful bubble of a world around AIM where we do stuff in our own little secret spaces, and we, you know, there's some educational equality for maybe 6,000 Indigenous kids in Australia, and lots of university students have a great time. The schools we work with are great. And then I think AIM's been around for 140,000 hours. If Dan Single's watching this, let me know if that math is right. And I think there's 100,000 hours still to go until climate change is irreversible. So we've got to act in a number of different spaces and places, and that's if this moment doesn't give us an urge to go, right, let's get out and do something. Let's work out. Yes, Henry, with your music, play music, and then what changes it going to create. I think we've got to be able to all work out what it collectively and individually, a little bit of responsibility we all take, because it's a real challenge now. You know, it's a real challenge for the human race, and we can shy away from it and bury our heads into endless hours of Netflix, or we can have a crack and go for it. And I think I'd prefer to have a crack. It'd be pretty disappointing if in 100,000 hours we look back and we're like, oh, we were just zombies for the last 10 years. That sucked.
I think it's really interesting that you say that, even though I was watching Netflix last night, but it's for a good reason. But it's the timing as well. I think that's really fitting with me personally. I was watching the David Attenborough, you know, as I'm sure we're referring to when it comes to the 100,000 hours. I think Dan got it from there. But it was just I was really teary and quite emotional after that, and thinking, like, even to the extent of like, right, how many kids am I going to have for the population growth type thing? And I think, you know, understanding our own individual impact is just, you know, really one small step, but we have to activate each other and hold each other accountable as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Henry, are you Aboriginal yourself?
Yeah.
And how many Aboriginal kids or Torres Strait Islander kids have you got at Knox there?
There's another one in my year group. I think there's a couple below. and I think there's like 6 or 7 above me.
And what's it like being in a big private school like Knox and being a small group of Aboriginal kids? What are the challenges that you have with that?
I enjoy it actually, because like we all can relate to each other, and like we see each other as like family.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool. It's cool to have a little squad that you can hang out with and have that support. And what's it like? What's it like building bridges out to the other students that aren't Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander, and how have they responded to having, you know, a group of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander kids in at Knox?
It's good because like we can teach them a lot and talk to them about stuff and tell them what's right, tell them what's like that's not going to happen and stuff.
Yeah. Do you ever get exhausted having to do that? I get exhausted sometimes having to have those conversations.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate part. I think I get hope and inspiration from a guy named Nelson Mandela. Have you heard of his name?
Yeah.
Before? And just the patience to consistently reach out his hand and be generous to broadly speaking to the white population, but to the dominant population at that time is amazing. I think maybe it's the only way we make progress. We have to just keep sharing ourselves to others, and hopefully they meet us halfway with respect and we can build those bridges together. Henry, thanks for dropping in. It's been great to catch up with you both. Really excited to see what we can do together with IMAGI-NATION University.
Thank you.
Good on you. We're going to go and catch up with Professor Lionel Corn, who's out, I think he's outside. Good timing from Helen Caldwell talking about the climate challenges. And please watch that David Attenborough series when you get a moment, or that show on Netflix. It's critical, I think, for us to not turn away from the complexity of information, even if it makes us, to quote Hannah again, feel inside. I think we've got to look at it, stare it in the face, and then work out what we can do. And Lionel's going to bring us up to speed with a climate class. So over to you, Professor Lionel Corn.
During this year's fire season, around 110,000 square kilometres of bush, forest and parks across Australia burned. That's the size of Switzerland, Jamaica, Taiwan, Israel, Singapore and Norfolk Island put together. Which sounds like a fun country. Scientists recently said climate change increased the risk of these fires by at least 30%. I'd planned to ask some of the local animals what they think of climate change, but unfortunately 3 billion of them died in the fires, so there's no one left to ask.
All right, we're going to catch up with some colourful characters now. I think we've got Robin here with us. Robin, how are you?
I'm good, Jack. How are you? Can you hear me?
Good. Yeah, got you well. Hey, tell us what are you interested in with IMAGI-NATION University? What sort of piqued your interest?
I don't know. So basically, I guess I live with Will and Tom's next door. So they've been like talking about sort of like building this university where people can be free and sort of like have their own imagination and have their own way and sort of like build a dream that they want to do. So that's basically what it is like if you want to be an artist or a creator. Like basically your dreams are meant to be fulfilled, and that's sort of like how I guess how I see myself, like sort of like having to keep sort of like how do I say this, having to build that dream and make it a reality, sort of, I guess.
Yeah, and give it life. April,
yeah.
What's an imagination? Can you just define imagination for us? And thanks for joining us.
Yuridu Jack. What a great question for me. Imagination, I think, is like accessing and tapping into that space where we remember how to be young ones again, if we're not. And we are brave enough to say, this is what I see here, but then this is what I see like way off into the future on the horizon as well.
I kind of think about Wi-Fi, which, Mark, do you know how Wi-Fi works?
Hi, Jack. No, it's the worst person to ask about that sort of stuff, unfortunately.
Well, I just know that like something happens from my computer where it bounces something. I don't know what the something is. It's like untouchable. This something that goes up to the sky and then bounces from outer space down into like your computer or a phone. And somehow that carries videos and stuff. That blows my mind apart. And it was invented by an Australian as well. And I kind of think imagination is our own personal Wi-Fi, which makes you so crazy because there's so many possible lines. You know, when you follow just, okay, this is what I got to do, this is the robot path, then you think you've got one line. But when you open up to all of the possible Wi-Fi lanes of thought, you can go anywhere. How the heck do you not go crazy, Mark, when you start to open your mind up to infinite possibilities?
Yeah, absolutely. I did know that about it being an Australian invention. It's something I think we should all be really proud of. I think, and what's exciting about the university, Imagination University, is that it's harnessing those things that are really important to us, like creativity and critical thinking and community building. And when we think about those avenues of learning, then imagination is something to really embrace and something to just feel really positive about all of our futures and how critical those skills are. So it's really interesting.
Hey, Robin, what's the worst lesson you've ever been taught?
The worst lesson? Oh, basically, I mean, I guess if you can't finish something, it's okay to not do it. I mean, I guess
Wow, that was like a haiku, that lesson. I'm still decoding that.
Yeah, so basically, I guess like I really try to do the best I can to finish something rather than thinking sort of like, oh, that's it, I'm done, I can't do anything. Just keep pushing until well, you've done your best. And to know that you've done your best, basically, that's sort of like the goal, rather than not knowing if you could have done any better, sort of like finishing it there. That's probably.
We interviewed Taika Waititi in LA a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago now. I was a filmmaker, and we interviewed him for AIM TV. And we have a bunch of different people we've interviewed over the years to sort of pass on their wisdom, who we see as mentors that we can then share as resources for the kids and different people we work with. And Taika said, finish. It's like, is that it, bro? Yeah, just finish what you start. Like, just finish the projects, Hey, April, what's the worst lesson anyone has ever taught you?
I think it was just that kind of like that really subtle teaching, not teaching thing where it's like that doubt in me. And I think that for me, I like really flip the script. And when someone thinks that I can't do something for some reason, it doesn't mean I can't. So it makes me want to do it even more.
It's crazy, isn't it, that so much of our outcomes are other people telling stories about us to us, and working out how we flip the script, how we take authorship of our own destiny is hard, isn't it, Mark? Like, it's challenging if someone's saying to you, no, you're not very good, or this isn't a good idea, or I don't believe in you, or I think you're dumb, or you are crazy, which maybe some people have said to me at different stages. But yeah, how do you balance that and try and let that inner voice, that script, have some weight, so what you're informed by at least is somewhat 50-50 balance, maybe 50% from you and 50% from the goobers around the world, or maybe 70-30. Heck, maybe you might get to 95% where you're like, actually, this is what I'm going to do, and a little bit of feedback. But it's challenging because there's so many scopes and so many channels where people can give us feedback all the time on our worth, our work, and our meaning for being here.
Yeah, that's right. And it's really, I think, like, listening is one of the most underrated skills. But built into that is listening to yourself and really getting to know what drives you and what motivates you. And you know instinctually in your gut what's important to you. And you just need to listen to that.
How do I listen to myself? How do I do that? I've been hearing people talk about this for quite some time. Where do I start? Like, do I turn on a radio show, or how do I actually do it?
I think it's about sometimes spending time alone, and sometimes not being afraid of being bored, and not being afraid to kind of look around and keep your eyes up and realize that you know, each one of us is special, not to get too corny, and it's a miracle that we're all here. If you think about the biology of it, and we all need to trust and just close our eyes and take it all in with our own instincts.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. A basic tip of when you put your head on the pillow at night, I'm trying my best to help teach our daughter to sleep at the moment. 2.5 hours in, and literally we haven't had full night's sleep for 2.5 years. I'm going slightly mental. I was talking to her about saying, hey, this is such a special time when you lie on your pillow. you get to think whatever you want to think. And if you're in the room by yourself, it's all yours. This is your world in this moment, and you can do whatever you want. And we don't, sometimes I look past that specialness of a moment to just lie on the pillow, and when your brain sort of bounces everywhere, just to let it go and dance around. Wow, we've sort of jumped around a few different topics. Hey, Robin, have you thought about what you might want to do at Imagination University? Have you thought practically about the project? I assume you're perhaps enrolling as a citizen, is that right? Or what are you thinking so far?
I mean, I guess I probably want to do something creative and for a good cause, sort of like push away for like sort of like bettering the climate and sort of like helping people understand that there's more to life than like all these disasters and everything like that. Life, like, I guess life is really beautiful. And one thing that I always thought about is like, it's not about changing the world. I guess it's like changing the way that people, sort of changing the perspective of people so that that entirely changes the world for them in their own way. So if that could be a unity amongst itself, and that could spread to other places, and I guess it just makes the world what it is already a better place for them. So that unity would spread to different places and sort of like, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that as an idea that you've got, yeah, just how one of the 6 topic fields we're teaching that we've sort of learned over these 16 years of inquiry and working with so many different kids and trying to build these bridges. So one of them's imagination, one of them's mentoring, the other one's flipping the script, and the other one's building bridges and working out how do we build bridges between people who may not know how to communicate with each other. And then we look at hoodie economics as a framework for us as well, which is what is a slightly different economic model where we don't necessarily have cash at the center, and we're just exploring what this piece of cloth that I'm wearing is doing as an exchange element within the sort of society that we're helping facilitate the people coming together around. So lots of stuff to look at, but I think the building bridges stuff will be quite interesting, where I think a couple of our guests spoke earlier about a podcast we're doing for that called Let's Get Awkward, where we're really trying to bury into and dive into those moments where, let's say, for example, we level the playing field in the executive boardrooms. Let's say we have as close to composition of women, men, people from different gender spectrums, people from differing abilities, people from different cultures, people from different socioeconomic statuses. Let's say like we get pretty good to bang on representation of what the population looks like. We then got to talk to each other. And that's complex. And that's complex verbally, but then there's a bunch of stuff we got to unlearn, like, we throw to the white guy to talk in the room, and we throw to the woman last, or we throw to the person of color last. And so we've still got subtle balances where we're respecting someone who has a viewpoint that's sort of kind of like a world that someone might know like us. So that, I think, is such a huge space to play in, is training the ability for us to work out how to have conversations again, especially when a generation of young people have grown up with these lunatic things like that in their hand, and trying to work out how they put that down, look at somebody who's different to them and have a conversation will be one of the most complex communication challenges of our time, I think. April, Mark, what are you guys interested in doing at the university?
I'll go first if that's okay, Mark. So I'm really obsessed with making art with computers. I'm really into augmented reality, this idea that there's like layers of reality on our reality. So I would be really proud to do some nation building stuff with young people of the Wiradjuri Nation, and really thinking about, I guess, I know you're talking about putting the phones down, but I think there's a time to pick them up, because I'd really like to work with some young Wiradjuri mob on making face filters, but making them our own, and also doing that thing where we say the teachers don't know how to do this, the schools don't know how to do this, the young ones are going to learn first.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, April. And similar here, like, so anything that builds community and creates creativity and collaboration and is art-based is my passion, and I'm really excited about that and shaping the next few years. Yeah.
Awesome, gang. Well, thank you so much for dropping in and sharing some of your thoughts with us and dancing around some ideas. It's yeah, really exciting to see all of the different people from around the world that are coming together to get to work and see what we can do. So looking forward to working with you over the course of next year with Imagination Uni. Take care. All right, we're going to go check out some music with the AIM anthem now and kick it with a few kids who, I think it was last year, recorded this Sam Cooke special from around the world to remind us that a change is going to come.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard to live in, but I'm afraid to die. 'Cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. I go to the movie and I go downtown. Somebody keep telling me don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes, it will. Then I go to my brother and I say, brother, help me please. But he winds up knocking me back down my knees. Whoa. There's been times that I wouldn't last for long, but now I think I'm able to have you all. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes, it will.
Hello, Matt. It's lovely to see you. I'm Asterix. Thank you for joining us on Imagination TV. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you.
I'm a professor of hoodie economics at the university. I'd love to know a bit about your story.
Yeah, so my name's Matt. Thank you for having me. I work as a physical therapist at the moment, having completed a few years of education at Griffith University on the Gold Coast. But my main passion is music, so I'm currently performing in a couple of bands on the Gold Coast here, one of them being Chutney, which is like an indie rock band. So that's my passion and that's my love.
Very, very cool. I love music. Adam, tell me a bit about you. How have you arrived here, fella?
G'day, Professor. Nice
Hello.
to meet you.
Yes, you too.
I myself, working full time, but on the side, love reading, love learning, love teaching a little bit as well. So with my podcast co-host, we read a book each week and then we share the best bits. The podcast is called What You Will Learn, and we're coming up to 300 episodes.
Whoa, that is a lot. 300? How does that mean you've read 300 books?
Yeah, probably a bit more. Some of them aren't good enough to make it on, but yeah, there's some phenomenal lessons that you can take from books.
Have you read any Keynes? I love Keynes.
Keynes is a slightly outside my wheelhouse, a bit outside my realm of expertise. Maybe you're a bit smarter than I am. I'm still learning. I'm still on my journey.
What about have you read Martin Luther King's last book?
I have not, but that's definitely a good one. That sounds like an important one that needs to be read.
He talks about universal basic income, and as well back in the sort of 1960s, which maybe we're looking at quite now. Hello, Lena. Lena, are you there? Hello. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Tell
nice
us a
to
little.
meet you.
You too. Tell us, why are you here? What brings you to this conversation around Imagination University? I'm fascinated to know.
Well, I'm here to meet you guys. I'm really far away, actually. I'm in Europe. And to understand what the university is about and how you are planning to change the education, because I'm very passionate about that subject.
Yes, I love some of the work that you've done. Will you tell us a little bit about your work?
Well, what I actually do now, I teach kids business, finance, and economics, because I really think it's important that everyone understands business, and understanding business makes everyone understand this world much better and find their place in the world much easier.
I wonder, Lena, how do I ask this question? Do you think we value like kindness and knowledge transfer in our current economic modeling? Do you think?
Probably not. I mean, kindness is well, it's not there. I think, and the knowledge transfer just it happens when we think it's more useful to us. No?
Yes, I find that strange, because seemingly passing knowledge instead of protecting it, this is mine, Adam, you read 300 books and then you share it. In my mind, that is the role of a citizen, a mentor, a parent who understands that all the children coming next are all ours and we should pass on our knowledge to them. Why do you share the knowledge instead of devouring it, yum, 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 and being so smart at your dinner parties? Why did you decide to share these books and these stories?
I think it's a two-parter. One, slightly more selfish, but one very much so altruistic. One is that by teaching others, it actually helps me learn better as well. I think by being able to take this in, but then repackage it and share it in a way that other people can understand definitely helps me learn better as well. But then the second part of it, of course, is that I think there's so much great information out there. I love learning. I know other people love learning too. So I want to share everything I've learned so that other people can get those same benefits as well. And maybe not everybody can read a book a week, and maybe they prefer to listen. So if I can say take my 12 to 15 hours of reading and package that into a half an hour podcast episode for someone to listen to, then they can get the same benefits as well.
Tell me, Matt, what is interesting you about the university?
I think it's just a really, really good program. I've been through university myself and I've had that access to higher learning, and, you get to create so many life experiences by having access to those things. So to be able to give that reach to everyone, like everyone gets to have that chance, it's a really fantastic opportunity. And, it helps shape the person you are later in life. So I think it's fantastic.
Well, that's probably a great segue for us to go to the university launch video to round out today's show, as we reflect on how we are going to bring together school students, university students, teachers, people in business, and everyday citizens, from 5-year-olds to 105-year-olds, to come together, learn about imagination with my friend, a wonderful Professor Hope, learn about organizing change with Professor Lionel Korn, learn about hoodie economics with me, and be able to think about how we take these tools to then organize change and build this fairer world we're dreaming of. We have 100,000 hours left until the climate challenge is irreversible. There's lots of moments for us to get out there and act. Let's not waste a minute, an hour, a day, and let's come together and use this as a base to imagine what's possible and then do the work. Thank you so much for joining us, Matt, Adam, and Lena. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you
Have a
so
good one.
much.
And thanks to everyone for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow, Australian Eastern Daylight Time. And now to the university launch video. Where have I put it? Oh.
We know what happened in 2020. But let's imagine 2021.
Let's imagine what a free and just world looks like.
Let's imagine a university free for all, with no paywalls to higher order thinking for anyone, anywhere. Let's imagine a social network for good, a bridge for us to come together and redesign the way the world works. Let's imagine what happens when we tell the kids at the back of the class that we see you.
There is a generation of kids just like you.
Let's imagine school students, university students, teachers, executives, citizens coming together to learn. Curriculum designed for the future we hope to build. Now imagine. It's happening right here. And you're invited. Welcome to Imagination University, brought to you by AIM, the Imagination Factory. Applications are open now.